It is a pleasure to introduce my colleague, Camille Simpkins, who's going to be your presenter for this afternoon. She's going to talk to you about the PIDC loan products and how we can help get some cash flow into your hands as you are pursuing and working on great contracts. So with that, Camille Simpkins, and thank you to Lachey. A shout out to Lachey, who is an intern working with PIDC on today. So Lachey, wave to everybody so they can see you.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you, Lachey. Okay, we're going to turn this over to Camille.
Marla, thank you so much. Lachey, thank you. To our guests that are here today, we appreciate your patience. I was the one with the technical difficulty, so Lachey has me right now in the right spot for magic. Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. As Marla mentioned, this is Rebuild Philadelphia's contract line of credit information session. I am Camille Simpkins. Lachey, you can advance to the next slide, please. I will be your presenter today. I am a relationship manager here with PIDC. I have about 20 plus years of financial services experience, having worked for a large financial institution. And I see myself as a connector, a collaborator with most small business owners, whether you're here representing a women business enterprise, a minority business enterprise, veteran, disabled, or LGBTQ, we do welcome you. I am an HBCU graduate. I'm in green today. Behold the green and gold for all my HBCUers out there. Woo, woo. But today it is about Rebuild. Lachey, you can advance to the next slide. It's so PIDC's vision for the Philadelphia economy is to ensure that we have a diversified, growing, and inclusive community support, because it drives jobs, it drives investment, tax revenue, and revitalization throughout the city. Most importantly, it produces a high quality of life for you, me, our community, businesses, visitors, and workers. PIDC is the economic development arm for the city of Philadelphia. And with that, we drive growth to every corner of Philadelphia. And we do it with much success through our partnerships. And the partnership that we're going to talk about today is Rebuild Philadelphia. Shay, you may continue. Rebuild Philadelphia was birthed out of the design or promise of Mayor Jim Kenney. Rebuild is a historic investment, you're going to hear that word quite often, of hundreds of millions of dollars in neighborhood parks, recreation centers, and libraries across Philadelphia. Proposed by Mayor Jim Kenney as part of his first budget and part of his vision for a more equitable Philadelphia, Rebuild Philadelphia's promise is to acknowledge history, engage the community, and invest intentionally in order to uplift pivotal community spaces, empower neighborhoods, and promote economic opportunity through the diversity and inclusion. For most of you on the line today who have purchased from me, it would have been a ginger ale from one of our retail stores here in Philadelphia, came that soda tax. So I want you to think about, yes, the guilty pleasure of sugar, but what that has done for the community. So it's sweetening the community, sweetening in such a place that, it's providing a space, a safe space for our children to go to. So that is the Rebuild promise, and that is where the soda tax actually came about. Lachey, you may continue. So as you begin your journey with Rebuild Ready, I imagine one of the items that's going to be top of mind for you is maintaining a positive cash flow position. This is important as you fund vendor costs, payroll, union dues, and as you take on maybe one project or two projects. Contracts can, in some cases have repayment terms up to 30 days, but maybe there's a lag in, in processing. So that 30 turns into 60, it turns into 90. So here at PIDC, we can provide you with that support. So as we talk about Rebuild, it's a new way to invest in neighborhoods. You're going to, what Rebuild and the council did was collaborate to launch this project. And then they created a design and engagement team with opportunities for diverse businesses such as yourself. There were site assessments and concept designs with community engagement. Now, there are a total of 72 projects altogether, and 15 have been completed, and 15 are currently going through the design and development stage. So you have the schematics with that community engagement, which includes, pre-construction opportunities, pre-bid meetings, design and development, and obtaining all the proper permits. And then you build this construction team with the opportunities for the diverse businesses. And that is where you come in. And then, of course, the construction and the reopening. But prior to you taking on the investment in one of these projects, as I mentioned, cash flow is an important idea. It's an important position. So when we talk about investing in the neighborhoods, this partnership between PIDC and Rebuild Philadelphia was birthed out of that. As we progress to the next slide will identify for us those many projects. So 72 in total, 15 have been completed, and 15 are underway. And so again, it starts with creating that design. It starts with the development, and then you're coming in with your construction team, whether it is you as the prime general contractor or you're taking on a specific specialty, and you serve as the sub. So, there are roofing, lighting, fire alarms, security systems. You have HVAC systems as well as painting. And then additional site projects include fencing, of course, field improvements, the playgrounds, the spray grounds. You'll have some projects that have the athletic courts, whether it be basketball. I've seen some designs that include football and or track. Sidewalk improvements are important, and landscaping. So I'd be interested to know, within the group that we have here with us today, if you can just in the chat, just tell me what your specialty is relative to looking at some of these site projects. Again, it's parks, libraries, and recreation centers that fall within these 72 approved programs. 42 still under fruition, 15 currently in play. So again, if you can utilize the chat and let me know what your industry specialties are. And Lachey, we can advance to the next slide. These are just some of the highlights of the groundbreaking exercises, as well as some of the ribbon cutting ceremonies. One of your colleagues in the market, Torado Construction, has been a huge proponent for Rebuild Philadelphia, starting off as an actual sub within one of these projects and moving on to a prime. So when you think it is impossible, it is very possible. Now moving on to the next slide, continuing to drive growth to every corner of Philadelphia, because there is a recreation center, park, and library within all of your neighborhoods.
Hi, Camille. I also want to interrupt just for 1 second and mention that we did have some people mention their specialty in our chat box and Q&A.
Oh, perfect. So hello, Reese Construction, having you as a prime contractor. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see, do we have any more that I missed? Okay. And then within the Q&A section, we do have the education programming, so we'll talk about that. DMB Builders, general contracting, concrete framing and roofing, and also share if you've had any experience with some of the Rebuild contracts, pre-bid. We can talk through some of those as well. But it's amazing because within this partnership, it allows for us to bridge the gap to fill in the gaps relative to your receivables. We can provide that support to any fund contract related working capital option. So we're going to advance and we're going to talk through really why we are here today, keeping mindful of the time, 1:21. We did say that we would end at 2, and that's more than enough information or more than enough time. Shay, you can advance to the next slide. So we have a product suite that includes working capital and equipment loans, contract line of credits, capital project loans, as well as commercial mortgage loans. At the end of this presentation, I will provide my information because if one of these particular product suites pique your attention or pique maybe what your strategic growth plan looks like, then we can definitely talk offline. But today we're going to spend most of that time on the contract line of credit. But just to give you an idea as to what we also have within our arsenal. Lachey, you may move to the next slide. So the one that's most important, of course, is the Rebuild contract line of credit. And it is designed after a contract line of credit that we pretty much already had within our scope. The traditional line of credit does bridge receivables, and it requires an assignment of contract proceeds. In this case, it could be something with Drexel University or any of the universities throughout Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Housing Authority, as well as the Philadelphia Housing and Development Corporation. We've also seen some partnerships through the Department of Behavioral Health. So this particular contract line of credit can be used towards any contract outside of Rebuild. 12 months with annual renewed terms, and the amounts are anywhere between $50,000 up to $500,000, and it is limited to $300,000 if you're a first-time buyer. So out of that design came the model for the Rebuild contract line of credit. In this case, we could bridge those receivables for rebuild contracts. It does require assignment of the contract proceeds. And basically what that means is you serve as the subcontractor to a larger contractor. They will provide us with, we'll provide them with the payment directive. So you're submitting your invoice for payment. And then once the invoice is ready to be paid, based on that payment directive back to PIDC, it then pays off your line of credit. So it allows for us to be able to advance the funds to you as you're waiting for a particular contract to be paid, because cash flow is important. Paying your employees is important. Some of the pre-bids may require that you have material upfront. So this would support the idea of that. At an interest rate of 1.50%, also mirroring a 12-month with annual renewed terms. So if your particular project has a phase 1, that's 2023, and it takes you into a phase 2 of 2024, you can renew that contract with us. Amounts are $50,000 up to $300,000. And in addition to that, there's a mobilization grant of up to $5,000 that can be used towards payroll, supplies, equipment, or any other fees that are associated with your contract work. And the application must include, what the funds are going to be used for. So again, awarding you the contract from $50,000 to $300,000, and in addition, a grant of $5,000 that does not have to be paid back. All right, let's advance to the next slide, Lachey. So we are providing you with priority if a contract comes through our system. And the process or the flow of that particular opportunity would be, of course, an initial meeting or a connection call with myself. We talk through the history of your business. We talk through your design model and what the scope of the project is for, whether it be the library, the park, or a recreation center. We obtain all of your financials and we talk through those financials. So what does your year-over-year growth look like? What opportunities are there for continued growth? And we can even talk through some of your challenges. Please understand that PIDC, the numbers are important to us, but what's just as important as the people, your process, and really your purpose. So being able to have an open dialogue of communication can allow for us to identify any challenges down the road and already come up for a strategy with those challenges. Full application. So you're ready to hit press, ready to press go, and we're moving forward. We meet with our loan committee bi-weekly. So we do our internal approvals. And then, of course, we do have board approval. So we make sure that we're doing our due diligence and making sure that we're covering all of our policies and procedures. So the loan committee has approved it and the board will do so as well. You receive your commitment letter and loan documents. We go to closing and disbursement because all of the directives are in place. And you take some of that pressure of the financial capacity off of your shoulders, because now you know that you have the bridge financing to support what you've actually identified within your pre-bid package. So that is the deal flow for us. Again, giving priority to your applications. So we've tried to have these processed with you within a 30 to 45 day time frame. Of course, the faster you can get the information to us relative to your financials and really share with us your narrative for any challenges that may be identified, the better. So it could take up to 60 days, but with that priority and the constant open lines of communication, 30 to 45 days. All right, advancing to the next slide. And we're doing good on time. We still have about a half hour, and we're going to leave some time for Q&A. Now, if you're not aware, Rebuild Ready has a business support program that is supported through Surety Bond and Associates. So if you thought about submitting a package, or if you wanted to learn more about blueprint design, how do you develop your bid and manage your cash flow? How do you develop your bid in such a place that you're not bidding too low or too high? How do you access that capital and that financing? Of course, you'll have to have bonding and insurance requirements met. They also provide technical assistance and back office support for bookkeeping and also payroll support. And of course, additional networking events. So events such as these through PIDC and some of our other partners. And I think probably what's the most important aspect of this business support program is the support that they provide you in becoming a registered minority-owned business and or women-owned business enterprise. So Surety Bond and Associates is one of our external partners, also partnering with Rebuild Philadelphia. So on the next slide, we'll share their information with you. Shay, you may move to the next slide. So Ellen Nealon, she is the founder and owner of Surety Bond and Associates. And many of you, I would imagine, have heard Aisha Herring Miller's name. She is the Rebuild Deputy Director for Diverse Business and Workforce Development. So she is our liaison for Rebuild Ready, but she is also the lead relative to most of the contracts. So she can provide you with information, introduce you to her team so that you know what is required relative to pre-bid exercises, some of the contracts that are coming up. So that is her information there. Spending a little bit more time again on the line of credit. So I mentioned real brief that the Rebuild line of credit is so that you can qualify for any contracts within the Rebuild project, and then they're assignable to PIDC. So the business must be located or plan to locate to the city of Philadelphia within, generally, the general rule of thumb is within 6 months of submitting a bid for the contract. So keep in mind that yes, you definitely do have to be a business that is located and holds their either offices or their support here in Philadelphia. The funds can be used for labor, material, equipment, so anything that's directly associated with the contract that's being financed. Now, in addition to advancing funds for these real bid contracts, keep in mind that there is also an additional opportunity to access a $5,000 grant for mobilization that does not have to be paid back. The line of credit amounts are $50,000 to $300,000, and the financing, we provide up to 90% of any approved invoices. 12-month term, fixed rates at 1.5%, and there are renewable options. So if you're taking on a phase 1, phase 2, in some cases, I've seen up to 5 phases within these rebuild projects that we can continue to renew that line of credit to support your project. The other thing that's a nuance of the rebuild contract, if you move from one rebuild contract to the next, we can change the assignment of it. So say, for example, you're working on Cobbs Creek Recreation Center and your job is done there. And then you receive a new contract assignment. We can move that contract assignment to another location, whether it's a recreation center, library, or park. And the only time in which you'll have to submit additional financial information is if we're moving into the next fiscal year. So understand that you can have more than one contract line of credit in place, depending on where you are in market with assigned opportunities. All right. Shay, you may move to the next slide, please. Again, looking for opportunities within our chat to answer any questions that you have. Now, when we talk about PIDC being the economic development arm for the city of Philadelphia, that provides access to capital. That provides you with the opportunity for equity and financial capacity, so to speak. Some of our typical funding requests: retail space expansion. You're in a small space and you want to expand either in that space or move to a new location. You need equipment, furniture, and fixtures. You're looking for a commercial or a mixed-use space. We love mixed-use spaces. Mixed-use spaces provide us the opportunity to take in additional sources of income. So if it's mixed use, of course, that commercial space being on your bottom level, and then the top floor is providing you with residential income coming in. Business acquisition. You run a general contracting firm that specializes in cement and masonry, and you've been thinking about bringing into the mix maybe plumbing and or heating, and you have an opportunity to acquire a business that could ensure you do that. We can help you finance the purchase of that business. Moving expenses, because through the commercial real estate program, you've identified an opportunity to buy a building. You've realized that what you're currently paying in rent would come out better for you if you pay a mortgage. Of course, you become the landlord and your emergency expenses might grow, but all in all, it works best for you. Operating working capital. You've identified opportunities for maybe 3 to 6 months of operating expenses. You're taking on additional workforce development because of the rebuild project. You have inventory purchases. So as part of your bid, you may be that type of industry that allows for the inventory that's needed within this project. And then here we are, contract receivable financing. You're reimbursed for the work that you've done. Most oftentimes, they would ask that you have the equity or the capacity up front. We provide you with that equity and capacity up front. And I've seen in many cases where there have been predatory lending practices through whether it is a merchant services company or just some companies that maybe you've purchased equipment or inventory from and the interest rate is astronomical. We can provide you with support with refinancing that debt so that, again, you can ensure that you have a positive cash flow opportunity. And we look at a look back at a larger institution's decline. So a traditional bank could have said no. PIDC sometimes is in a position to take a second look at it and say yes. So these are typical funding requests that we receive outside of the idea of Rebuild Philadelphia, but I wanted you to be aware that we have many access to capital opportunities that could support the growth and strategy of your business. Because in order to drive growth to every corner of Philadelphia, you need to have positive cash flow and the ability to, have that capacity and equity to grow. And with that, Lachey, I'm going to have you move to the next slide. Again, please take this opportunity to share any questions in our chat box, also within the Q&A. You can also use your raise hand function as well. So I am here to provide any answers to any of your questions. And please, any question is a great question because it could be a question that you ask, but the team can take advantage of. And you still have quite a bit of time that I can provide this opportunity for you. Again, is there anyone here in the room that has had an opportunity to participate in Rebuild Philadelphia? Or is there a particular slide within the presentation that you'd like us to return to and reference? Again, you can use the chat box, the Q&A, or raise your hand. How do you find out what are the 72 projects? Yes, so what you can do is go right to the, well, all 72 have not been identified per se, but if you go to the Rebuild Philadelphia website, you can identify, actually, I'm wrong. There is, and if you include your email in the chat for me, I do have a map in which I can provide you with a listing of all those locations. So Shalon, if you'll put that right in the chat for me, I can give you all the list. Perfect. And again, this applies to recreation centers, libraries, and recreation centers, libraries, and why am I drawing a blank? Playgrounds. Any other questions? And while you're doing that, I am going to actually share. I may be able to find that while we're on the line, and I can share that with everyone.
And also, Camille, as you look that up, I just want to briefly introduce myself. I'm Jasmine Walker. I'm the Marketing Communications Director with PIDC. I do want to call out some of our Rebuild contract line of credit success stories. So in the chat box right now, I'm going to add a link to those success stories so you can kind of read some of our past recipients, their involvement with the fund, how they used it, and what successes they had along the way. So please feel free to click that link. And please, of course, ask your questions live with Camille as we are here today.
All right, let's see. I know.
We have a question asking, can this be a first-time business to apply for the contracts?
Yes, you can be a first-time business to apply for the contracts. First-time borrowers, it's up to $300,000. So the Rebuild line of credit, some from $50,000 to $300,000 if you're a first-time borrower with us. And then, of course, Rebuild Philadelphia welcomes, new contractors in the city.
Our next question is, where can I find out the percentage of Black-owned prime contractors who have received contracts up to date? Reese Construction is a first cohort participant.
I would reach out to, well, are you speaking in terms of the Rebuild Philadelphia contract or just contracts throughout the city?
Rebuild.
Rebuild, okay, so you can look at Rebuild Philadelphia's website and they update that information on a quarterly basis. I'm wondering the best way to. All right, I have that slide. Let me see. I don't want to provide more technical assistance to Lachey if I don't have to. But I did find it. I don't know that, pull it out of here. So what we'll do is make sure that, actually I can just read them off to you really quick, just so you have an idea. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Oh, what did I do with it? Come out of here and out of here. Okay. Okay, here we go. So complete and first phases were 8th and Diamond Playground, Hayes Playground, Gifford Playground, Parkside Evans, Hancock Playground, Moss, Fishtown, the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, Francis J. Myers, Nicetown Tioga, Diston, East Popular, Miles Mack, Cobbs Creek, 8th and Diamond, and Fishtown Hockey Roof. Currently under construction, we have Nelson Playground, Riviera Recreation and Man Under Adult Center, Powers Park, Olney Recreation Center, Gavin has actually completed, Heltzman Recreation Center, Chew Playground, West Oak Library, Winfield Library, Lawncrest Recreation Center and pool improvements. There right now is under construction. There has about 5 phases to it. So that's going to be one of the flagship opportunities. And then we have Fishtown Hockey that's still going through their drainage improvements. Distant Recreation Center is going through some building improvements, but that should be done fairly quick. But if you go to Rebuild Philadelphia, both their Facebook page as well as their website, there are listings there of what is currently available to bid on. Right now, we're working on the King Sesson Library. So that's going through 2 phases. So they're accepting requests for proposals for that. So huge opportunities, still 42 sites that will be identified over the next couple months. But Rebuild Philadelphia and their amazing team really, want to ensure that there is a huge number of minority support. Now, the minority numbers for these projects. So, for example, a minority business enterprise, these projects, the general contractors have to make sure that at least 35% of their workforce is a minority business enterprise, and 15 to 20% are women business enterprises. And the you want to make sure that your registration is complete through the Office of Equal Opportunity. So that is the database by which they're using so that they can obtain the listing of the business enterprises that could support these projects. So please make sure that you're going on to OEO's website and listing your company so that they know that you're out there, because that is the site that they're utilizing to ensure that they have those minority business enterprise support. Yeah, so it is 1:46. Again, opportunity for you to ask any questions, whether it be in the chat, Q&A, or using the hand raise feature. But based on your registrations here today, we'll make sure that you get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, but spend some time on Rebuild Philadelphia's website, as well as their Facebook page. Their Facebook page is updated on a weekly basis. And you might want to take an opportunity to do one of the ribbon cutting ceremonies as well. I know that there is a ribbon cutting ceremony coming up for, let's see, I can tell you right now. And I think the greatest highlight is seeing the children, really have a good time. So the kids in Fishtown yesterday actually got to hang out with Gritty. So he was at the Fishtown hockey rink. And then they were at Fotterell Square. That's in North Philadelphia. So Fotterell Square, their project was $3.9 million. They received play equipment and safety surfaces and a new basketball court. They also received a brand new soccer mini pitch, benches, trash receptacles, fencing, signage. There was installation of 12 new light poles and 18 security cameras. There was a single use bathroom facilities that were installed. They have safe pathways and lit pathways throughout the park. Landscaping was done. Both the erosion and sediment control was completed. There was underground storm sewer and utilities, and a new ADA accessible entrance was placed on 12th Street, in addition to renovation on Cumberland Street, also providing ADA access. So, those are extents of some of the programs. Again, I know, we may have fussed and cussed about that soda tax, but this is what's happening, rebuilding. So there is, so that ribbon cutting was July 13th. Fishtown Hockey had their ribbon cutting July 11th. So yeah, take a look at Rebuild Philadelphia's website and join in on some of this fun. The groundbreaking exercise and block party was a whole thing for the Murphy Recreation Center at 300 Shunk Street. That was fun. You get an opportunity to see the mayor. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention relative to Rebuild Philadelphia too is that they have also started a masonry program. So for those of you that want to have some additional support or training, even through workforce development, because once their participants graduate, they're always looking for employers. So huge opportunity, and Jasmine has provided that Rebuild's website within our chat. So for those of you that joined us today, thank you so much. We appreciate your patience again, because I did have some technical difficulties. And I would hope that we covered enough information for you here today that you will think about submitting a bid for Rebuild Philadelphia. Please keep in mind, though, that anytime that there's a pre-bid opportunity, if you wish to serve as a general contractor, those initial pre-bid meetings are mandatory. So just go in and obtain the information and meet the individuals in the room. There's a huge amount of community support. There's a good many of us that work together. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for your time and attention. Please make sure that you take as much information as you can out of our chat. And there's my information here, both my email as well as my telephone number. I look forward to serving as a thought partner for you. So if you have any questions or concerns relative to the process, or there was something that wasn't covered here today, or more information and engagement that you'd like to see from PIDC, please let us know. We live to serve you, so what you need is what we can provide. Jasmine, do you have any final words or anything that you want to share?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We appreciate your time. Huge thank you to Camille Simpkins for that wonderful information you shared about the Rebuild Contract Line of Credit and the Rebuild program. We hope that each and every one of you on the workshop today will take advantage of this amazing program. And again, if you need more information about events, activities with Rebuild, I placed that information in the chat for you for Rebuild's website. You can also sign up for other future PIDC workshops on our website, and that is in the chat as well. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you again, Camille. Thank you to our intern, Shay, who's been working behind the scenes to get everything going for us and training today. And we look forward to seeing you guys in future workshops. Have a wonderful day.
And Shay, thank you again.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.